This is a spoiler discussion for Season 1 of Unicorn Warriors Eternal. If you haven't seen Season 1, then I would suggest either skipping this video or watching it and then coming back. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about Season 1 because there is quite a bit to talk about, although I don't know if I will talk about everything, but I will talk about what comes to mind. And my mind has been very scattered recently. I don't really know what's going on, so you'll have to forgive me if I end up tripping over words and breaking between sentences because I genuinely don't understand what's happening. My mind is all sorts of scattered. I think I'm just not getting enough sleep, but I don't know. If it gets pretty bad, I'll have to see a doctor. But anyways, Season 1 of Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I loved this season. I already made a review talking about how much I love this season. I love the series. I give it a 10 out of 10. But you don't really know what it's about until at least the 6th episode. You don't know what set off the chain of events that formed the Order of the Unicorn and how all the players came to be. And you still don't know how all the players come to be. Sang's role is never truly explained, how he came into the Order. Neither really is Copernicus. The only ones you know about for sure are Merlin and Melinda, who started it. And then Edred. But other than that, you just don't know. You have no way of knowing because the show just doesn't tell you really where they come from other than they are part of the Order. So the only ones you know about for sure are Melinda, Merlin, and Edred. But you don't know about Sang, you don't know about Copernicus, and of course Emma and what's her boyfriend? Emma and her fiance. What do you call him? Winston. I can't believe I forgot his name that quickly. Like I said, my mind is totally scattered. You'll have to forgive me. But the show does not go into detail as to specifically who the outside characters are and how they came to be. We don't know what the cosmic realm is, but we know that Sang is in tune with it and that he can see in it, but it's not clear whether or not he can see in both the cosmic realm and in our world, because if you look at his eyes are constantly glazed over with the cosmic realm. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I couldn't live like that. I don't care how great or peaceful the cosmic realm is, I couldn't exist in our world and simultaneously be in another world. That would drive my mortal mind insane. You have to have a level of tranquility, and it's assumed that he does because it looks like he's from some sort of monastic order, whether it be Buddhist monks or Tibetan monks, whatever. But either way, he's got a tranquility about it, or it gives him a tranquility. Again, these things aren't explained, so you just kind of have to infer them. There's a lot of stuff that pulls from various different mythologies in this show, specifically high fantasy stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and the myth of King Arthur, and specifically Merlin and Morgan Le Fay, which is interesting because, actually I'll get to that in a minute. But you don't really know with Sang what his origin is. There's a lot of side characters that appear, but a lot of them you don't really spend much time with. You have the one police constable whose name escapes me. He is a character that's in denial about magic and the supernatural, and he's kind of an analog for just your average person in that setting of Victorian steampunk England, which, by the way, that setting of England is great. I love it. I love all the steampunk technology. I mentioned it in the Season 1 review, but I'll mention it here again. I love steampunk stuff because I love steam locomotives. I think steam locomotives are a great piece of history that should be preserved and used and demonstrated. I love steam. Steam is what built half the world during the Industrial Revolution. It's a great technology. I believe that one day we can return to steam and that it'll be cleaner than ever before because we'll find something clean to burn. All of that being said, I love the depiction of steampunk here. I think it fits well. It doesn't feel out of place with all of the high fantasy elements of the show. I think the show blends the two together fairly well. But with all that being said, what's interesting to me is the way the show evolves. I mean, the central character at the beginning is Emma / Melinda. And in the beginning, you're wondering, why did this dynamic take place and where are they going with it? Because they could go any number of ways with this. You know, you've got the character that's two people in one. She's got a split personality, but they balanced it pretty well, to the point where in episode 10, the final episode where she splits, you notice a part of Melinda is in Emma. A lot of her knowledge and understanding. Emma is no longer the same person. She's not afraid. She's confident. She wants to be a part. She wants to help the fight. And she has Melinda's memories. So she's able to retain that. That is a part of her and will be a part of her forever. So they're intertwined. And I think the series is trying to imply that Melinda and Emma will be one potentially forever. I don't know what that's going to do with the relationship between Winston and Edred, but I do know that these two characters are linked, and they will always be linked. And I think that that was what the show is trying to demonstrate when they split the two apart. You know, Emma was going crazy trying to get back into the cosmic realm and to get back into the fight. She felt tied and bound to the duties of Melinda. And when the two embraced to become one again, it was a beautiful scene. It showed that they've got a companionship now, and that they recognize that they feel incomplete without the other. They are, for all intents and purposes, one being, which is going to be interesting for future story dynamics. But I think that that's pretty cool, because at the beginning, they resent each other. They don't understand each other. But then Emma starts to understand Melinda on a deeper level, and she sympathizes. So Copernicus didn't make a mistake by choosing Emma. Where at first Merlin and the others thought, well, this can't be right. When he chose Emma, when he chose the kid Alfie who became Sang. You know, Merlin was surprised when they were thrown in the elven prison. He was surprised at how young they were, and he thought Copernicus just botched it. But no, Copernicus knew what he was doing. He was programmed to know what he was doing. So I think as an overall, the plot is straightforward, but the fact that we still don't know how Merlin decided to do this, other than he just chose to do it. Him and Melinda decided to start this order of the unicorn. We don't know how they got Copernicus. Obviously he's from the future, but we don't know how they went about obtaining him and how he came to be. We know who he was created by. The guy who... oh, jeez. Do they even have him listed here? I don't think they do. The guy who's the scientist, who's basically Dexter. He's a tribute to Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory, which is beautiful, by the way, because Dexter's Laboratory, one of the greatest cartoons ever created, showing that Gendy has not forgotten where he came from, and that's a beautiful tribute to his past work. We know Copernicus came from him, but from him in the future. So, unfortunately, he dies in episode 8 or 9? So, I don't know if that messes with the future or not, but we know basically the entire world has been reset by the end of the show, which is very interesting. I mean, we saw dinosaurs and airships firing lasers, volcanoes going off, dragons breathing fire. It was chaos. And Merlin said all that was and all that would be has forever been changed, or something like that. I'm not quoting verbatim. But, I mean, this show, what I love about it is that given its storyline, given its characters, given the fact that you have Merlin and his magic, given Emma and her abilities, and Edred and his abilities, and Sang and his abilities, they can do stuff with time travel, they can do stuff in between dimensions. I mean, they're going to fight this evil to the end. They really are. The only thing we know for sure is that the evil is a result of Morgan Le Fay's magic. Morgan Le Fay's magic manifested itself into evil when she was trying to break Melinda from her magic. And somehow Morgan's magic became evil. Now that's something a lot of people might miss on their first watch through. because I was watching some reactions and people were like, okay, I don't understand why is Morgan Le Fay trapped in this creature. But if you pay attention to the original flashback, her magic manifested into the evil creature. And it's weird that Merlin somehow missed this. I don't know how. I think in the chaos of the moment, maybe he missed it. I don't really remember, but somehow he missed it. And so when I basically predicted, when she heard Morgan Le Fay, I predicted that Morgan was going to be the evil somehow. But when I heard her scream for help, I knew immediately she was going to be the heart of the creature. It was very obvious. She was going to be the heart of the creature. When she tried to pull her out and she said, I am its heart. Because when she started to pull, I verbally said to myself, she can't. Because she's the source of the creature. So, now that they know the origin of the creature, they're going to have to decide what to do. Because, you know, Emma/Melinda is not going to kill her. She doesn't want to kill her mother. She's very emotional about her mother. She doesn't want her mother to die. And I don't think Merlin wants Morgan to die. Because he was very emotional as well. When he stuck his head out of the combined entity, you know, he went, Morgan, you know? So, I think the rest of the series is going to be them battling the evil and trying to get back to the point to where they can strike at its heart, they can strike and they can free Morgan. So, over the course of the next several seasons, I wouldn't be surprised if they go the route of they get so close to the evil, they nearly stop it, they nearly get Morgan, but they can't. They're probably going to repeat that so that they can continue to tell the type of stories they want to tell. And the evil is going to manifest itself in multiple ways. This is a highly intelligent evil. We see it manifest itself in the form of that multi-tailed fox. So I think throughout the ages that they travel through, they are going to see the evil manifest itself in more and more different ways. And that's how they're going to make the stories interesting. And they're going to deal with multiple different entities. I think they're going to explore Sang's origin. I think they're going to explore potentially Merlin's origin even further. Because we know Melinda's to a degree. We don't know how she was born. Well, I mean, obviously we know how she was born. You know, Merlin plus Morgan Le Fay plus a dimly lit room. And I'm not even going to go there. But we know basically where she came from. We saw a snippet of her childhood. So did Emma. But her memories are linked to Emma, and now Emma is basically a part of her. And so I think what's going to happen going forward is the show leads you to believe that what it's going to be is each subsequent season, the souls of the Order of the Unicorn are going to go from character to character to character, and it's going to open the door for the main setting to be different each season, which is incredibly creative, and I really like that. But I think instead what's going to happen is it's going to be the same characters inhabiting the same bodies, but they're going to be traveling through time to defeat the evil. Each season is going to be in a different time period / setting where they fight the evil. I think that's what's going to happen. So there's a lot that they can do with that. But there are still a lot of unanswered questions, you know? The question of, again, Sang. The question of, will Winston be an official member of the Order of the Unicorn, or are they going to try to find him to send him back to that steampunk Victorian England? Does that England even exist anymore after season 10? Does anything that existed before even exist? Or are they going to go back on that at the start of season 2? That's another question, because they could very easily do something completely out of the ordinary and go back on the whole everything is chaos thing, because maybe they felt it was too chaotic. I could see them changing season 2 quite a bit. I hope they don't change it too much, because I mean, it's really good and they've opened up a lot of possibilities, but it could be a little bit too chaotic as far as consistency and remembering what it was that they established, because that's a very easy thing to do. The biggest problem with the CW Arrowverse, as an example, was they established a lot of things early on, and then they contradicted themselves in later seasons. You know, you see this pointed out with The Flash specifically. I know Madvocate, he does a series of videos on The Flash, and one of the most frustrating things about The Flash is that they forget what tools they have at their disposal to defeat villains and what abilities that Barry has to defeat villains. So you could easily get yourself into a situation where you've forgotten the rules of your own universe because you're constantly brainstorming and trying to figure out what to do next. So they really need to remember what it is they did in season 1, and hopefully they won't stray too far from that. If it's a competently made show, which I have no reason to doubt, Genndy Tartakovsky has more than proven himself over the years, then they can absolutely do that, 100%. If I had to choose a favorite character in all of this, it'd be a toss-up between Copernicus and perhaps maybe Sang. I don't dislike Melinda and Edred. I actually really like Melinda when she is Emma. I like the character. The voice actress does a tremendous job. I love her accent. It sounds very nice. She's very soft-spoken, and she's able to portray a lot of emotion really, really well. She's a phenomenal voice actress. I think she's a regular actress. Hazel Dupay, she's Irish. And she's 21. She's Irish. And she's doing an English accent, and she does a near perfect one. I wouldn't have even known she was Irish. But it's a very natural sounding English accent, and it is gorgeous. It is well executed. I love it. I absolutely love it. Basically to me, she's pretty much unknown, but I really like her performance. You know, you got Grey Delisle in this, who is doing a great job. She's still proven after all these years, she still has what it takes. I mean, she's, in her mid-50s now? Early 50s? She's almost 50. She's 49. She's still got what it takes, absolutely. Because I was thinking, yeah, she's probably getting up there. It's been quite a few years since a lot of the stuff I saw her in. Like, she's not old, but she's not terribly young either. And then you got a whole bunch of voice actors that I hadn't even heard of. And they all do a tremendous job. I'm fascinated with the Merlin character because with the introduction of Merlin and Morgan Le Fay, this effectively makes this a King Arthur style myth. Merlin is a fantastic character. I mean, he's even gotten to the point to where the wizarding world at least through and I'm no fan of the wizarding world, so I'm just saying based on what I've seen, but with stuff like Hogwarts Legacy, Merlin is the origin of magic in that universe. As far as I can tell, he's the OG wizard. He's the original wizard. So Merlin, throughout fantasy, is considered probably the most important wizard of all. Easily. I think he was the inspiration for Gandalf and others. So, I mean, I really like this. I like their portrayal of Merlin. I think it's fairly accurate. I think his character is fairly accurate. He's not goofy like the Merlin we see in The Sword and the Stone from Disney. He's wise. He's extremely powerful. Probably the most powerful wizard in existence. I mean, he's great. He's really great, and I love the portrayal. Some guy named Jeremy Crutchley. I think he does a fantastic job. He sounded a whole lot like, I believe, is it Tom Kane who voiced the professor? And that's who he sounds like the most to me. But unfortunately, he had to quit voice acting because of, I think he damaged his vocal cords, or he had some sort of cancer or something. I don't know. I won't talk too much about that because this isn't a video about Tom Kane. But that's who he sounds like, and he does a phenomenal job. But I am fascinated because we don't get a whole lot about the Merlin character. You kind of have to infer based on what you know about the King Arthur myth and about the character in general. But even then, I think he strays from the myth quite a bit based on what I've seen. I mean, he's just the gray-bearded wizard. That's how he's known. And then you have the tiger guy, Rakasha. Apparently, he's a demigod who protected the Indian jungle, so he's a part of, he's probably a part of Hinduism, I would imagine. but he ends up getting killed. But he's connected to the cosmic realm as well. You could tell by his eyes. So, that's fascinating. So there's a connection to Sang somewhere there. I wonder if they're part of the same monastic order. But I would imagine he's a figure in Hinduism. At least I would imagine. Yeah, so Morgan Le Fay is a part of the King Arthur myth. In some cases, I guess she's his sibling. They don't elaborate on her character, so she's kind of a blank slate. But in this, she is the love of Merlin, which I think is fascinating, and the mother of Melinda. What I want to know is why she wanted to take that magic away. Now, she pretty much says that she's a child, she can't handle it, and it's dark. But, I mean, she's able to control it for most of her life, and it's been fine. So, I wonder if it's more or less that she knows that she has an evil power within herself, and she's worried that her daughter would become the same. Because towards the end there, when she's being attempted to be saved by Melinda, she's very emotional, she's very vulnerable, but you can tell she trusts her daughter to try and save her. But she just recognizes that she has to be destroyed. But I wonder if the series is going to elaborate on the origin of how something like that can come to be, how it can manifest itself into evil. If there's an evil desire in her heart that has just found a way through her magic to manifest itself into this being, I don't really know. Those are the types of questions that people are going to want to see answered, and based on how the series does things, I don't know if we will ever get an answer. I think that might just be something we speculate on till the series ends. Who knows? It's up to Genndy Tartakovsky and crew what questions they want to answer and what they want to leave to the imagination, or they want to leave you guessing until they reveal. Because the show is largely a tease in many ways. It very much is. It gives you just small enough nuggets of information to follow the basic goings-on, and then it leaves the rest to the imagination. And I do believe, again, that that's on purpose. I really do. I don't think that that was incidental. I think that that was intentional to keep people's interest, to keep people talking, and to keep people compelled. I can imagine a group of executives sitting here and wanting more. And that's a genius move by Genndy Tartakovsky and whoever else helped produce this, because I don't want to give him sole credit, because it takes a team to make this. But it is an absolute genius strategy. I can easily see executives screening this thing and going, I want to know more. What's happening? I want to know more. And he says, well, if you want to know more, we can put a full season together. Because, I mean, Genndy spent years trying to get this made. He created it at Cartoon Network Studios years ago. This is a product of its time in the best possible way. And I know I said something similar to this in my initial Unicorn Warriors Eternal video, but I'm repeating it here. This is a show of the early 2000s, and I miss that era to the point where I could cry thinking about it. I spend so much time looking at stuff from that era and going, man, we took that era for granted. We absolutely took that era for granted because there was so much on, but because shows weren't premiering new enough, fast enough, we got bored. It's like, oh, seen it. Oh, seen this one before, seen that. But now that it's all gone and it's completely different, Cartoon Network's a completely different beast. The old bumpers are gone. The old characters are gone. None of the new shows feel compelling. They feel too modernized, and they're all in that stinking CalArt style. Except for shows like Unicorn Warriors Eternal, Smiling Friends, and even though I don't like it, Rick and Morty. The stuff on Adult Swim feels like a continuation of our era, of the era that we grew up in. Only now we're adults, so we have stuff on Adult Swim. It's really quite fascinating to me. It really is. But this show's got a great future. I love all of the characters. I think the Order of the Unicorn itself is a very well-constructed team. I just, like many of you, I just want answers to some very specific questions, but if I don't get them, it's not the end of the world. I can still follow the show. I think the show is still coherent. And the second season, there's a lot that can happen. I mean, it's pretty much established they're going to be fighting this thing through hell or high water, through fire and water. I mean, they're going to be fighting this evil in as many settings as possible. It's going to manifest itself in as many settings as possible. I don't think it's going to manifest itself the same way twice. It can take almost infinite forms by the look of it, because of how the magic works. And I personally think that there's a connection between Morgan Le Fay's magic and Melinda's magic. I think she inherited it from both Merlin and Morgan Le Fay. And I think Morgan Le Fay was afraid that it would somehow manifest itself into evil. And it does sort of have a dark, evil aura to it. So I'm wondering if that's going to manifest itself as well, and they're going to have two threats. I don't know. What I do know is there's so many ways they can take this. I don't know what they're going to do with Winston. I mean, at this point, to not include him as a member of the Order of the Unicorn when he does have abilities to where he can hold his own as a werewolf, I feel like it's unfair. And it seems like he's in it to win it now. He's earned his spot on the team. Whereas before, he was just a bumbling idiot trying to, be with his fiancée, which is admirable, but she's changed. She's not the same person, but neither is he. The theme here is that what is established has changed. But unlike a lot of other media that does this, this is doing it in a way to where change is natural and good, how natural change occurs, and how we need to come to grips with that change and continue to do what we're destined to do. I think that's the overall theme of the series, is that no matter what changes, if we've got a destiny, we need to fulfill that destiny. If we've got a calling, we've got a purpose, we need to go for that calling and purpose, absolutely. I think that that's what the theme of the show is. And overall, the theme is, standing against evil no matter the odds. No matter the odds, because you see Melinda at the end, / Emma, she's determined to fight this thing. She doesn't know at first that it's her mother, but when she finds out it's her mother, she becomes more determined than ever to fight it, and to find a way to defeat it and save her mother. So her resolve is stronger than it's ever been. And I think subsequently that makes the team's resolve stronger than it's ever been. But overall, fantastic show. I love this season. I love the characterization. I loved when we had to see Edred deal with his culture and the sacrifice he had to make, his love for Melinda, and how they originally hated each other. Seeing Emma grow as a character in such a short time, and even seeing Winston grow as a character. Seeing Sang, it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting, and I think this show is going to be highly successful. And I can't wait to see where it goes. But anyways, let me know what you think of Season 1 down in the comments below. Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite episode and setting? What do you hope to see in the future? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Thank you for putting up with my rambling nonsense. I know I was a bit incoherent here because, again, my head's still very scrambled. And I will see you guys next time. This has been Super Koopa TV with another edition of Toony Talk. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.